Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Investment and Strategy Committee for September 2nd. On this committee are myself, Councillors O'Connor, Councillor Blackmore, and of course, Mayor Clayton. Councillor Thiessen was kind enough to do a land acknowledgement for us earlier in the day, so that means we can get right into business. And first of all, I will ask if anybody will move to adopt the agenda. Councillor Blackmore.
I would so move.
Certainly in order.
Mayor Clayton in favor.
And thank you, Councillor Blackmore. And with that, I will turn it over to Chief Bailey to give her service area update.
Thank you so much, Chair Bressy. We'll start with Community Connections. Just a reminder that this Saturday, September 6th, is the Art Gallery's 50th anniversary, so there'll be a free sketch party. It's taking place from 11:30 to 2. There'll also be a ticketed event being held in the Teresa Sargent Hall in the evening, and that will feature a live painting competition. Secondly, Neighbour Day is taking place on Saturday, September 13th, so our neighbourhood associations are working super hard to plan celebration for residents, and we'll continue to share details, keep everyone informed, but should be a great day. I'll also add that the collections team have installed and opened a new exhibit that recreates a vintage hunter's lodge and gives a rare glimpse into the museum's firearms collection, so it's a unique opportunity, and that's going to be available for a year. Moving forward to all things InvestGP, the University of Alberta's Northern Alberta Medical Program officially launched on August 28th, welcomed its first cohort of 30 students. The Mayor provided much welcome remarks and highlighted the program is designed to strengthen regional healthcare by training physicians locally with strong community and partner support that helps retain talent in the area. And with that concludes our service update.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Not seeing any. So Chief Bailey, I'll turn it back to you to see if you want to tee off this first report.
Absolutely. So this morning, Council will hear two updates from the Grande Prairie Public Library. The first will be the 2026 operational funding discussion, and the second will be a capital funding request for a new pocket library at Eastlink Centre. And the intent of this, it's a mini branch model already used in cities such as Red Deer and Calgary, and will provide a cost-effective access to library resources in a high-traffic community hub. That helps us reduce geographic barriers and reach new user groups. So with that, I welcome turning it over to Ms. McCullough.
Great, and with me I have Tara Weeb, our Head of Out Services. Today I'll be speaking about the Grande Prairie Public Library's operational funding request for 2026, as well as a capital request for a pocket library in the Eastlink Centre. So this year we were grateful to receive stable funding from the city, the MD of Greenview, and the province. The county gave us a 3% increase in funding, which is greatly appreciated. And we also bring in revenue through services like our room bookings, exam proctoring, and printing and photocopying. Halfway through this year, we generated $60,000 in revenue so far. And some of the funding improvements we focused on this year included restructuring our pay grid to better align with other mid-sized libraries in Alberta. We did a salary grid comparison last year and found a few areas we were lagging pretty far behind in, so we started some work to address those by moving to a 7-step grid instead of 8. And we increased the pay band for some of our positions, so we're able to attract and retain high-quality staff members. We've continued with our expanded Sunday hours, which have allowed us to open at 11 a.m. rather than 1 p.m. And after having those additional hours in place for more than a full year, we've started to see more people come to the library on Sundays. This year, we're averaging 468 people every Sunday, which is an increase of 46% compared to what we were averaging on Sundays before we added those 2 additional hours. We've also hired more part-time staff, and this has allowed us to offer more programs and better service to the community and keep up with those additional hours. And finally, 2025 was a plan of service year for us, so we hired a consultant to help with that work and create something really intentional with the help of our community that will allow us to shape where the library is going to go over the next 5 years. So for 2026, we're requesting stable funding or a 0% increase. That amounts to almost $1.8 million and is what we received in operational funding this year. I'd also like to mention that the city generously provides us with a gift in kind through the building that the library is in, and this amounts to nearly $1.7 million. It also includes utilities and services like electricity, custodial staff, and security, so we appreciate that. Now, as for why we're asking for no increase to our funding in 2026, there are a few reasons. The first is that the city provided us with a 5% increase to our operational funding in 2024, and we're able to maintain our current level of service with that existing funding. The second reason is that we spent most of this year developing our 2026 to 2030 plan of service, and that's going to help inform our future direction and where funding is most needed. And I think the development of a capital plan and capital budget will help with that as well. And finally, we real time fiscally for municipalities in Alberta right now, and we want to support our municipality by not asking for an increase to our funding. So in case you're curious about what the direction forward looks like for the library in 2026, we have a few priorities here I'd like to share. We're committed to maintaining our collections, programming, and IT budgets to ensure services related to those areas remain consistent. For programs, we started strategically planning our outreach events for the year so that we have a present at as many relevant events as possible within our capacity. We really want people to see us out in the community because some of the feedback we received in our plan of service work was that non-library users often don't use the library because they forget about us. So we're trying to be very visible so we're not forgotten. In our plan of service work this year, we tried really hard to connect with our community and learn what they want to see from the library over the next 5 years. And the 4 priorities we think we're going to be focusing include increasing awareness and visibility, growing with the community, building community connections, and collaborating to bridge gaps. And finally, we've been fortunate to be collaborating more with the city on events and just different ways we can help each other. And that's been very beneficial and positive because we ultimately want the same thing, which is to make Grande Prairie the best city it can be. So that concludes the 2026 operational funding request presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have this time before we move on to the next one.
Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Chair Brassey. Thank you, Haley. Your report is so positive, so fresh, and we really appreciate that you're working very hard with the city to be able to make things work. I'm just curious, as you're not asking for an increase yet, you were able to raise funds for your staff and pay them better on the grid. How did you do that?
Yeah, so with the 5% increase we got, we were able to allocate that mostly to salaries and then also some programming as well, which is why we've been able to kind of extend our events a little bit. We just had the Ren Fair, just over a week ago now, and that was a huge success. We had over 600 people to that. So it's just using that increase we got from the city and also the increase we got from the county to better serve the community through staffing.
Yes, and also you said you generated $60,000 in income. How did you do that?
Yeah, so we offer some services at the library, like room bookings. We have different rates for for-profit businesses and nonprofits. And we also do services like photocopying, printing, faxing, and exam proctoring as well. That's been a big income generator for us because I think the only other place you can do exam writing in Grande Prairie is at the college. But I think they're currently quite full with their students. So we get a lot of the people who are doing school outside of the college who come to write to the library to write their exams.
That's very good news. Thank you.
Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Brassey. Just so I can make a note, remind me, it's great to hear that your numbers have increased on Sunday. And as Councillor O'Connor said, thanks for the report. We also appreciate you identifying with your organization the fiscal realities that municipalities are facing, and so we appreciate that. Just so I have for my notes, tell me what your numbers are looking like overall for the number of people visiting the library every year.
Yeah, they've been trending upwards. I think last year we saw a 6% increase, and the year before that it was something like 14. So they've been steadily ticking upwards since COVID. And I think that for 2025, we'll still see another increase, maybe not quite 6%, but we're on track to be higher than what we did last year for in-person visits.
And do you have the number from 2024 offhand?
Yeah, 235,000, I want to say. It was somewhere in that neighborhood.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, definitely a lot of good news stories here. So thank you. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the plan of service for 2026 and seeing what the future of the library looks like. So really appreciate it. I think you're good to move into your next presentation.
Okay. Hi, me again. So next up, we have the capital funding request for a pocket library at the Eastlink Center. Over the past several months, we've been working closely with the city's community connections team and Angela Redding at the Eastlink Center on this, and we just really appreciate that collaboration and the guidance provided. It's just been a tremendously positive experience, and we're really excited to share this request with you. So what the heck is a pocket library? They're a modern, flexible approach to expanding library service. They're smaller than full branches, but still offer key services like a browsable collection, a place to pick up holds, and access to programs, and they're right in the heart of community spaces. What makes them so valuable is that strategic location. They're placed in high traffic areas where people already gather, like recreation centers or multi-use facilities. And this allows us to meet people where they are instead of relying on them to come to a central library. We're seeing this model gain traction across Canada as a cost-effective way to broaden access. It's already been implemented successfully in places like the Caldecott Centre in Red Deer, the Big Marble Go Centre in Medicine Hats, and the Shane Holmes YMCA in Calgary's Rocky Ridge area. And each of these examples shows how a smaller footprint can still make a big impact, offering core library services in a way that's accessible, visible, and connected to the community. Now, the Eastlink Center presents a unique and strategic opportunity to expand library services in a meaningful way. By implementing a pocket library in an existing municipal facility, we can maximize impact while minimizing costs and duplication of infrastructure. This model creates a low barrier access point, especially for residents and neighborhoods that may currently be underserved by traditional library services. It's about bringing the library to where people already are. And there are really 4 key benefits to this approach. So it improves geographic access to library service, which will help better serve other areas and neighborhoods of the city. It allows us to engage new and diverse audiences, people who may not visit a traditional library building, but who may frequent the Eastlink Center. It offers a chance to create a warm, welcoming third space, a place that's not home or work, but still feels like it belongs to the community. And finally, it serves as a pilot, a flexible and scalable model that lets us test expanded service and gather real-world data. And this will help guide future planning. So here's a little map. That teeny tiny red box on the map is kind of where we were thinking the pop-up library could go if it was approved. And this location within the Eastlink Center was specifically selected because it offers several advantages that make it well suited for a pocket library. First, it's situated right next to the Second Cup Cafe. Having food and drinks nearby adds to the cozy, welcoming atmosphere, and that's something we know contributes to positive library experiences. Secondly, the space features glass windows along one side, allowing in natural light, and this not only makes the area feel more open and inviting, but it also fits well with the overall hydrotherapeutic feel of the facility. It's calm, it's bright, and it's relaxing. It's also located in a high traffic part of the building. The natural flow of people through the area provides passive oversight and contributes to a safe and visible environment. And finally, the location is on the main floor, which ensures it's easy to access for everyone, whether you're coming in with a stroller, a mobility aid, or just dropping by casually. There is no stairs or elevators required. And so together, these elements make this location very functional and welcoming. Now, in terms of staffing, the Pocket Library would be designed to operate primarily as a self-serve location, allowing users to browse, borrow, and return materials independently, similar to an express branch with minimal staffing needs. However, to ensure smooth operations, a library staff member will check in regularly, ideally daily, to complete essential tasks such as restocking materials, addressing any issues, and maintaining the space. We'd also like to explore a potential partnership with nearby schools where students could volunteer their time at the Pocket Library in exchange for class credits, offering them a meaningful opportunity to engage with the community while supporting basic library operations. And thanks to the self-serve model and limited staffing requirements, the estimated annual staffing cost is approximately $15,678, which would make this a pretty efficient way to expand library access. And so the total estimated cost for launching the Pocket Library at the Eastlink Center is $130,000. And this includes everything from setup and infrastructure to technology and furniture. We're also hoping to mirror our relationship with the city at the Montrose Cultural Center, where we receive some gift-in-kind contributions through the leasing of the space, security, and custodial. And at the Eastlink Center, we anticipate this gift-in-kind contribution to be valued at approximately $35,000 annually. While we are seeking capital funding support from the city on this, we're also looking into additional funding sources to help offset the overall cost. One option is sponsorships. We'd love to offer naming rights to a company or business, and we'd of course be happy to spotlight or advertise for any organizations or businesses interested in financially supporting this project. We also plan to apply for the CFEP grant, as it's a provincial funding stream that supports projects just like this. And lastly, there may be an opportunity for support through our Friends of the Library group, the Champions of GBPL. They might be able to help cover some smaller costs. And that concludes our capital budget request for a pocket library in the Eastlink Centre, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have at this time.
Thank you. And I've got Councillor Blackmore, then O'Connor.
Thank you, Chair Bressie. Can you tell me how you keep such a collection secure? I don't really understand that part.
So I can speak to that a little bit. We talked pretty extensively with the CEO of the Red Deer Public Library because they instituted this at the Collicutt Centre, a very similar project. And what they said was it wasn't as much of an issue as they would have initially thought, because basically they had security for the Collicutt Centre who would patrol the area, and it almost was, because the spot was in a room that was near the entrance in that area, they had people who were always kind of in the area. So that was almost like a secondary way, if that makes sense, that it was being watched. Like the public was always around, so it wasn't so much an area that was just left on its own. So with the security of the building itself and just the fact that it was so heavily occupied, they actually didn't find that there was very much theft or anything like that. The CEO there said that they had about the same amount of theft and vandalism and that sort of thing that they had at their actual initial branch. So there wasn't very much difference there at all.
Speak to that as well. They also have security cameras installed at their branch in the Red Deer example, and so we would be hoping to emulate that here so that we can monitor the space. And we've also had some conversations about potentially having access to the pocket library with a door that you would scan your Eastlink membership or your library card, and you would gain access that way. That's a potential option we've been talking about as well.
Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Chair Bressie, and I really love this concept. So I'm assuming, I have 3 points, by the way. I'm assuming that your staff would reload and restock and do that? Okay. The second, do you have stats on how other centers have done in their increase in clients and people coming? Do you have any numbers based on that?
We don't have the specific numbers here. We do have from Red Deer a report that they did send to us about the numbers of their center. And I mean, I can't give you exact numbers. I don't know if you have access to those, but they did say that this was initially supposed to be a project that was temporary. It was initially like a 6-month project or something like that. And the demand, so that they had turned it into a permanent location because it was so successful. We do have that report that was sent to us, so we can, I guess, forward that information along because they do have it in a nice little package there, but I can't say for like direct numbers right now.
Yes. So, and this is a very proactive, this is how my brain works. Mm-hmm. Are you able to expand and look at expansion if it is successful? And I can see there's lots of room up against the windows there looking into the pool. So I'm curious, have you allowed for expansion in case it happened?
I don't know. What do you think about that?
We have not discussed expansion, actually. That would be awesome. We're always looking for more library everywhere. I think in that specific area, I don't know that there's a lot of room for expansion there, but potentially relocating to another area of the center where we could make the space larger if it was really successful and we needed to do that, or potentially opening a second pocket library in another facility somewhere in the city.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Blackmore.
I'm curious what success will look like. Like, do you have an idea of how many numbers you would want to see in order to transition from a trial to a permanent pocket?
I actually do have a few numbers that I wrote down here just as general metrics. So we're hoping within the first year we would get between 150 to 300 new library accounts created through in-person use of the Pocket Library. We're looking at a target of around 5,000 to 7,500 total items circulated through that location specifically in the first year. And then we'd be looking at 10 to 15,000 visitor counts within 1 year. So, and that would help us understand how much the space is being used beyond borrowing. We could do other things like community feedback and user surveys. We could do short surveys that would be conducted quarterly. We would gather qualitative data on user satisfactions, demographics, and perceived value. So those are some of the things that we've kind of talked about and looked at. Yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you.
A couple questions I've got is, so I'm trying to picture this. Is this gonna be one of those ones where it's completely enclosed and there's a door you have to get in, or would it be more open to?
It would be somewhat enclosed. So we would be making use of glass partitions, and it would be ideally, like a door that you would come in through, and that would be maybe where you would scan your Eastlink / library membership to get in there. You'd go in, and then it would be glass partitioning along the side there. So it is an enclosed space within the Eastlink Center.
And why enclose it instead of doing one of these other models I've seen where you don't enclose it? It's just shelves out there. What's the thinking of enclosing it?
Well, I think the cozy atmosphere of it is one thing. It's kind of like its own little center that people can go and relax in between doing other things. It's also a noise issue. Obviously, we're not going to be able to keep all the noise out because that's just not the kind of environment that Eastlink Center is. But this way, we'll be able to use, we do have in our budget that we want to use soundproofing panels and things like that just to kind of keep some of the noises out so that it's not really overwhelming. We did look at some other spaces as well. Like we did look at some other rooms that it could potentially go into, but we just found that overall, for the reasons that Haley went over, this was the best possible spot that we kind of went through. But we had about, was it 4 other 5 locations, but this one just kind of ticked off the most of our boxes, I guess.
And then I'm also curious, I get why you moved away from just lockers, but is the intention to also have lockers here or some sort of reservation pickup, or would it be purely just walk in and grab what you want?
It would be very much that as well. Like we do have our lockers at the Wellington Center in Claremont, and those the plan is for those to remain there for now. So this wouldn't be making use of lockers, but people could come by and pick up holds and stuff like that. But it would just be very much like a mini library location, not so much like the locker setup.
But you would bring holds to it for.
Yes,
awesome.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? A question I've got for administration. So is this request going to just show up at budget deliberations, or does a motion have to happen for it to show up there?
Chair Bressie, our request is if there's some interest that this be referred to budget.
So I'm not seeing any other questions. I'm curious if anybody wants to do any business. Councillor Blackmore.
I'd be happy to refer this matter to budget.
Excellent. Certainly in order. I'm thankful for that motion personally. Not seeing anybody trying to get in on discussion, so I'll call that to question. And Bressie in favor.
And congratulations on your Renaissance Fair. I heard it was great.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
It was so much fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time today, and thank you to your staff and your volunteers for all the wonderful work you do for our community. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
And with that, I will turn to Chief Bailey to tee up our next report.
Thank you so much, Chair Bressie. So before you today are the recommended funding allocations for the Pursuit of Excellence, Arts and Culture, and Sport Hosting Grant programs. These were carefully reviewed against the established criteria for each stream, and all applicants recommended for funding met the eligibility requirements. Ms. Cecil will now walk through a high-level update and answer any questions.
Thank you and good morning. I'm here to present the funding recommendations for 3 streams, the Pursuit of Excellence Fund, Sport Hosting Grant, and Festival Funding Grant. These recommendations follow review by administration and the Community Advisory Committee with a focus on maximizing community impact and aligning with Council's priorities. The Pursuit of Excellence Fund is a legacy fund from the 1995 Canada Winter Games and supports sport development with priority on coach education, athlete development, and volunteer and official training. In this intake, 19 applications were received with $13,190 recommended for allocation. $13,100 of Pursuit of Excellence funding is reserved for scholarships to be allocated after the October 1st deadline. There were no applications received for festival funding during this intake. The remaining $1,500 is recommended for reallocation to the Sport Hosting Grant. The Sport Hosting Grant supports organizations hosting provincial, Western Canadian, national, or international events that bring economic, social, and cultural value to Grande Prairie. 7 events were recommended with $15,000 fully allocated for 2025. In conclusion, administration recommends that committee approve the allocations as presented.
Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you very much for the report. I'm just curious on a couple of items. There is no report on Arts and Culture Fund, and I'm just curious is what's the amount of money in there, if there is, and what is the criteria for arts and culture so that people can apply for it? I can see it mentioned a little bit, but has there been any inquiries for the Arts and Culture Fund? I'm concerned if there aren't. So there's a lot of questions there, if I can.
Thank you, through the chair. So the festival funding grant does have 2 intakes. So the first intake was subscribed by many organizations hosting festivals within the city. This second intake typically sees lower applications due to everyone planning earlier on in the year.
Yeah, but what my concern is that in the paragraph on background, it said Arts and Culture Fund is designed to support and encourage the development of artists and groups involved in the arts. The fund supports programs, projects which foster and promote, it's not allowing me to expand it, sorry. So I'm just curious as to, I don't see anything represent that as totally different than the festival grants. And so I'm not sure, am I confused, or because I don't see anything related to arts and culture. So.
Go ahead if you...
Thank you, through the chair. There's a few different streams within the Arts and Culture Fund. So there's also operational funding for arts groups, and then the festival funding. So the only stream that was up for recommendation at this intake was the festival funding. The others have already been allocated.
And there was no applications for it.
Okay. I'm just wondering how it's marketed. If somebody wanted to, produce a record or do some art or do a sculpture, is that part of it? I see, it's like the message is not getting out and why you don't receive reports. That's just my view.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we have allocated funding in other streams throughout the year. It was just in this particular intake that we're not seeing those applications, correct?
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. So the first intake would have seen more applications than the second intake.
Okay. And if I look grumpy and sound grumpy, I'm not grumpy, so I'm good. Okay. No, I'm not.
No, and I think it's a good concern to like Councillor O'Connor, but I think it is just calendar-based. You get your work done over the summer and fall, and then in the winter you start thinking about what am I going to do next year, and you apply in that first intake is my observation of what a lot of people have done. Any other questions? Anybody willing to do business? Oh, Mayor Clayton. Sorry, Mayor Clayton.
I'll put it up here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chair Bressie. Can you give me, I was just digging through the grants presentation, and I'm looking for a sport breakdown. Typically, we've seen numbers to know, 30% of the funds went to wrestling or whatever it may be. Do you have that number?
Thank you, through the chair. I don't have the exact breakdown of that. No, not with me.
Can you email that to council for information?
Yep.
And I had one second question, if that's okay. I saw in the application, I'm curious in the, in regards to the sport hosting grant numbers, the Pirates Minor Fastball had requested $5 million, or $5 million, wow. They'd be really happy today. $5,000, and the recommendation was to award that full amount. However, in the 3A boys and girls volleyball, the requests for $5,000 and the recommendations were $3,000 each. I was curious if you had any background context.
Thank you, through the chair. So the $3,000 for the volleyball events comes from the funding guidelines of 20% per sport. So because both events are for volleyball, they are only eligible for 30% of the total budget, which would be $6,000 total. And then the Pirates fastball event qualified for the $5,000 under the large scale, being that it was a provincially recognized event.
And then the baseball, why was that?
The baseball was a recommendation due to the event not taking place within Grande Prairie because there were limited funds available.
Just some feedback. We don't really host baseball in this city, so I don't know if that's a fair consideration. You know, we have softball diamonds and fastball diamonds, so to not fund them because we don't have those facilities would be my feedback, but appreciate the report.
And I definitely echo feedback, especially when things are happening in Evergreen Park. For me, I do feel different about things happening in Claremont versus Evergreen Park, to be blunt, just based on where people are going to go to buy lunch or get a hotel or things like that. But it's Evergreen Park. I personally have no hesitation. Any other questions? Anybody willing to do business? Councillor O'Connor?
I move that committee recommend council approve funding allocations as presented in Appendix A.
Definitely in order. I'm not seeing any discussion, so I'll call that to question. Bressie in favor. That motion carries. So thank you for the report. And I'll turn it back to Chief Bailey to tee up the next one.
Thank you, Chair Bressie. This is the final quarterly update on Council's 2022 to 2025 strategic plan. You'll see there's more than 35 projects advanced across all 4 priority areas. Ms. Bilodeau will now provide an overview of key highlights and answer any questions.
Good morning, and thank you, Chair Bressie. I'm pleased to present the Q2 2025 progress report, which provides an update on the many projects and initiatives that Council set out at the beginning of their term. So this quarter, a key milestone was reached with the opening of the Coordinated Care Campus Permanent Supportive Housing Project, which is now fully operational and providing stability and services to residents. This project reflects Council's commitment to fostering an inclusive and caring community. More information on this project was reported earlier today by Director Wenzel with the Housing and Homelessness System update during the Public and Protective Services Committee. We also continue to see strong momentum in housing affordability and availability. So since June 2024, over 850 new units have been advanced through incentive programs, and major partnerships such as the CMHLA Willow Place expansion and Grand Spirit Foundation development are laying the foundation for hundreds of additional homes. Together, these initiatives are reshaping the city's housing landscape and directly supporting Council's housing strategy. Looking ahead, a few priorities will continue into the later part of 2025 and beyond. So these include the Winter City Strategy, which is anticipated to be brought forward in Q4 2025, the development of the Entertainment and Recreation District concept. This has been referred to the 2026 budget. The Grande Prairie Police Service, which remains on track for transition to police of jurisdiction by the end of 2026. And work is also progressing on long-term initiatives such as the Corporate Asset Maturity Strategy and the Fieldhouse request, with anticipated completion in 2026. On the advocacy front, Council's approved 2025 priorities remain focused on electricity distribution costs, the 911 levy, healthcare supports, seniors housing, economic corridors, and enhanced transportation connectivity. These efforts will remain active throughout the remainder of the year. In closing, more than 30 significant projects and strategies have been completed during this term, with only a small number continuing past 2025. This legacy of progress leaves a strong foundation for the next council to build upon in 2026 and beyond. And with that, that concludes my update, and I'd be happy to answer any questions committee might have.
Thank you. Councillor Blackmore.
I don't have a question, but I have a kudos, I guess, because ending my 4th term on council, this is the first time I found that a strategic plan was well and fully tracked all the way through 4 years with a really easy to understand dashboard. And it makes me feel like I've actually accomplished things in 4 years, which I think is pretty tremendous. And it's a kudos to council, but also to our administration for providing such good reporting and good tracking. So thank you.
Mayor Clayton.
Thanks. Yeah, I echo Councillor Blackmore's comments. Really appreciate the report and the initiative that was implemented this term to track the work that the organization and council does throughout the 4 years. My question is specifically in regards to in your staff report and the advocacy priorities. And it might be a question for Chief Lemieux, but if you know it, Ms. Bilodeau, please feel free to answer. I'm looking for an update on the 911 levy. I've been subtly advocating for this, but I understand we're waiting for more data on that before we come with an actual ask, and I'm wondering if anybody has information on that for me.
Chief Lemieux.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So there's done in the background, we've been asked to try and identify what should that levy be in order to make 911 centers throughout the province of Alberta sustainable. So that work is continuing, and there'll be some information coming forward very shortly.
Great, thank you.
Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Bilodeau. This is an amazing report, and echoing the comments of Councillor Blackmore and Mayor Clayton is you can see exactly what you've done, and I'm just amazed to see full black circles saying we're completed, we're completed. So kudos to your department for doing that, and I hope the next council is able to take advantage of the strategic planning session coming forward. So.
All right, I'm not seeing any other questions, so go ahead and please do business.
Yes, I'd like to have committee recommend council receive this report for information.
Definitely in order. I'll call that question. Well, thank you for the update, and thank you to our staff in all service areas that have delivered on this. We really appreciate it. We do have an in-camera item, but just in case we don't come out with business, I'm going to ask Chief Bailey to do outstanding items list before we do that.
Thank you, Chair Bressy. We have no requests on the outstanding item list today. It's in order.
Okay. Could I get a motion to receive it? Councillor Blackmore.
I'd move we receive the outstanding items list for September 2nd for information. And then I would move we go in camera.
Any conversation on the motion to go in camera? Not seeing any. I'll call that to order. We are moving in camera. Thank you, everybody, for joining our meeting today.